Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kevin Blakicki YouTube channel. We come to you after yet another disappointing Jets loss, losing 42-10 to the New England Patriots. An absolutely disgusting performance by the Jets. Absolutely embarrassing. Another lost season down the drain. This team is going to pick top 3 in the draft. They're going to have 2 first-round picks. Thank God that the Colts bottomed out like they did, and now they're going to have 2 really good first-round picks. They're going to have a lot of draft capital. They're going to have a lot of cap space in the offseason. But as a Jets fan, I'm just over it, man. Like, there's really no hope for this organization. Like, I mean, like, what are their positive takeaways from this season? They played pretty well over a 5-game stretch where they went 3-2 from late October to late November, but they sucked all through September. They sucked all through October up till the end. They sucked all through December. They had one of the worst Decembers of all time in terms of point differential. And Aaron Glenn's on the hot seat. He's gonna return next year. I really am in the fire Aaron Glenn camp. I think he's terrible. But and to people who are pointing out the fact that the Jets have a terrible roster and that he wouldn't be able, nobody would be able to win with this roster. The reason why it is this way is because of Aaron Glenn being such a bad head coach. The Jets got off to an 0-7 start, and they traded away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams at the trade deadline. They were trying, and they were bad. And then they traded away all of their good players, or most of their good players. Garrett Wilson hasn't played, hasn't had a catch since October 12th, and he's still the leading receiver for this team, which is insane. And so they sucked. They traded away most of their good players, and then they got worse. And you know what? To all the people who are saying that they want a tank and that they want this team to do poorly so they get a good draft pick, you're getting your wish. The Jets are tanking. Brady Cook is not an NFL quarterback. He's making starts for us, and he's actively helping us lose games. Aaron Glenn is supposed to be a defensive coordinator. He's supposed to be a defensive head coach, which off the bat didn't excite me because we just had a defensive coach in Robert Saleh, and our defense was terrible. And then so you go from him to Aaron Glenn, another defensive coach, and somehow we're worse. We don't even have an interception at all this season. We don't have one single defensive interception this entire season. How does that happen? Especially from Aaron Glenn, who was a cornerback. How do you let this happen? And I would love to say that the Jets are, gonna get their guy. Fernando Mendoza is gonna be the number 1 overall pick. I'm not in love with him. There is still a chance that the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, but it's likely that they're gonna pick 2 or 3. And look, I just don't have any faith or any excitement going forward with this team. Like, how am I supposed to look at this team after the past 15 years and say, all right, we're finally going to be going somewhere? Because, I mean, we've tried everything when it comes to the quarterback position. We tried trading up to get Mark Sanchez. He in retrospect, he was one of the best quarterbacks that we've had recently. We tried, drafting, just guys early like Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson. That didn't work out. We tried going with veteran options like Brett Favre, like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was pretty good for us. whether it be Josh McCown, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I knew once Aaron Rodgers flamed out as much as he did, and the Jets weren't able to get anything from him when he was here, I had no hope. If you can't make the playoffs, shit, even the way that the Steelers are, they have a chance to win and get into the playoffs. Even if they don't, they're going to finish the season with 9 wins, which is more wins in one season than Aaron Rodgers had in 2 seasons with the Jets. So, I mean, there's just we've tried everything with the quarterback position, and a lot of people are saying that Joe Namath is the cause of this. That until Joe Namath passes away, Joe Namath sold his soul for the Jets to win the Super Bowl, but way back in Super Bowl 3. And until he passes and until Woody Johnson passes, that this is going to continue. Woody Johnson is 78 years old. You're telling me that we have to do this for another 15 to 20 years after already missing the playoffs 15 years in a row? Do you know how bad you have to be to miss the playoffs 15 seasons in a row? I mean, we're seeing teams go from worst to first all over the league. Look at Liam Cohen. We were making fun of him in Jacksonville for saying the Duval thing and how he looked in over his head. He turned a team that had 4 or fewer wins and he brought them to 12 plus wins. He is the first head coach in NFL history to do that. You look at the Bears, they were 7-10, then they drafted Caleb Williams, they went to 5-12, and now they at the time of last night's Sunday night football game, they were competing for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And it's not just that, we're looking at other teams be really competitive. The Giants had a chance to just lay down and get the number 1 overall pick with a loss. They went out there. They looked like a playoff team against the Raiders. They absolutely destroyed them. The Titans are playing well. The Bengals have had a crazy mess of a season, up and down, with Joe Burrow leaving, and, with Joe Burrow getting injured, and Joe Flacco coming in. There's been a whole bunch of teams that are even struggling out. Like look at the Saints. The Saints were one of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Jets lost by over 20 points to them. And Tyler Shook is now getting Rookie of the Year shout-outs from his wide receiver Chris Olave. I mean, there's just teams over and over all over the league that have had lost seasons. Prime example, we talked about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. They go up against the Browns. Browns have absolutely nothing to play for except for the Myles Garrett sack record. He doesn't get it in the game against the Steelers, but they still end up winning 13-6. They held the Steelers to without they held the Steelers without a touchdown. There's teams all over the league that are still being competitive, and the Jets allowed Drake May and Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots to come into MetLife Stadium and completely embarrass them in front of their home fans for the last time this season. I mean, I don't think it's an overreaction to think that it's just going to happen again. That Drake May and Mike Vrabel are just going to be the next Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Obviously it's still early. Drake May looks great. He looks like an MVP candidate. And you had the Patriots come into MetLife Stadium and embarrass the Jets. And the thing that bothers me, there are teams that are way better than the Jets. I've seen the blowout losses. This team doesn't respect us. That's what bothers me. At the end of the day, the Patriots look down on us, and they always make sure that they beat the Jets. They never overlook us. They never look ahead to a bigger matchup. They never take their foot off the gas pedal, and they always do everything in their power to make sure that they beat the Jets. The 2 games a year that they play against the Jets, they have circled, and they make sure that they go out and they embarrass us every year, and they do it every year. And I'm sick and tired of it. And Woody Johnson doesn't care. He doesn't care about winning. This is just a hobby to him. He doesn't care about this football team like I and so many other Jets fans care. I've watched this team for going on 20 years now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love being a Jets fan, but how am I supposed to look forward to next year or the years ahead and say that this team has any future? I mean, you can see it in other teams. There are teams that have been historically bad, like the Browns. They've won playoff games. They've had success. The Jaguars made it to the AFC Championship game. What, in 2017 or something like that? With Blake Bortles. Now they're a 12-win team with Trevor Lawrence, who could have been a Jet, but we had to win a game against the Rams in late 2020 and ruined that. I mean, there's just no hope. There's just no hope for this team. And the thing with Aaron Glenn, maybe him and Muji get to put in their team who they want. They get to draft their guys, but you can't look at this season and tell me that Aaron Glenn has deserved a second season as the Jets head coach. You're just saying, every argument I hear is, well, it's only been 1 year. Maybe he turns things around. They get a quarterback this year. I mean, this year wasn't supposed to be a tank year. We weren't supposed to be trading away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. We were, obviously we're in a soft rebuild after the Aaron Rodgers disaster. But this was a team that we thought, could, compete, get maybe 6 or 7 wins, and not be a playoff team, but at least be a watchable and competitive team. And it was like the expectations were pretty low for this team, and this team has gone to depths that I didn't even think were possible. I mean, they have hit the rockiest of rock bottoms. Having MVP chance from Drake May by the visiting Patriots team in your home stadium. Are you kidding me? That doesn't piss you off? That doesn't make you want to rip your opponent's head off? Where is the heart and soul with this team? Where is the anger? Where is the aggressiveness? Where are the players fighting tooth and nail on every play because they love their head coach? I don't see it. I don't see it with Aaron Glenn. I don't see players who, already have their bags packed, already know that the season's gone. They're going to go on vacation as soon as the season's over, but they're going to play every single second of every single down because Aaron Glenn's their head coach and they want to run through a wall for him. We saw this with the Raiders. The Raiders are actively trying to tank and get that number 1 pick because they shut down Max Crosby. And Max Crosby, put out videos on his social media of him playing basketball with his daughter, him jumping around, him shooting hoops. He's saying that he's fine. He wants to play, and the Raiders are shutting him down for the rest of the season. Even though that he's been injured for most of the season, he's been playing through it. He seems to be okay. He wants to play, and the Raiders are shutting him down because they want to get the number 1 overall pick. We need guys like Max Crosby on this team who wants to play, who knows that it's a long season, who has nothing to play for except for their pride. and we are full of guys on this roster that just don't care. And, you know, I assume that part of the plan is to re-sign Breece Hall. But I mean, after this season, after the way that it's gone and him not getting traded, Breece Hall coming back is not a guarantee. It's not. If I'm him, if I'm Garrett Wilson, I am forcing my way out of this team. I'm begging for a trade. I'm not resigning. Like, I just don't understand why anyone would wanna be a member of this organization because they're a joke. They're an embarrassment. No one wants to play for this organization. We're not gonna win anytime soon. Why would anybody wanna sign with the New York Jets? And there's this it's a salary cap, so it's not even like you could just dangle money in front of people and they'll come. Like, you have to be smart with your financials, and you can't just hand out contracts willy-nilly to everybody because you still have to field the competitive roster at the end of the day. I don't know, man. This is just such an embarrassment. I'm so embarrassed to be a Jets fan. I'm never gonna switch up, but there's just no way that I can be hopeful, going into this draft, going into the offseason, the free agency period, and thinking that anything is gonna come from this organization. It's just it never ends. There's no hope. I mean, we are. I mean, every we see that Browns fan with all the quarterbacks on his jersey. And we're headed the same way. I mean, we're rolling out Brady Cook in as a starting NFL quarterback. I mean, honestly, at this point, we're just trying to fill out that immaculate grid. We're not even trying to um to compete for any sort of meaningful games. We're just out here just being like, "Hey, you remember that guy?" It's just for social media. If you be like, "Hey, name a forgotten quarterback or forgotten player," and they'll put, "Oh, real ball knowers know Brady Cook. Real ballers remember Jets Tyrod Taylor." I mean, it's just so bad. But thank you for listening to this 18-minute rant about me talking about the New York Jets. Hopefully, it was coherent enough for people. Hopefully, it resonates with people. I'm so sick and tired of this. I just, I'm so defeated. I'm so embarrassed. And I pray that all of this rooting for this team, hopefully, in whether it be next year, the year after, it pays off. Because I've been a loyal Jets fan my whole life and I deserve some sort of happiness. But that does it for this video. If you like this video, make sure you like it. Make sure you drop a comment telling me how much you loved the video, or if you hated the video, let me know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when I post and upload. And if you want to follow me on social media, follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Kevin Bulkicki. Hope you guys have a happy holidays. Hope you enjoyed your Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have a happy new year, and I'll see you next time.